take a look at the stats, Villa had 22 shots compared to City that just had the 2. I'm surprised the expected goals isn't higher than that, considering the number of opportunities that Villa had. But I tell you what it means is we've got one heck of a title race now in England. Manchester City remain 4th. That victory for Villa means they move up to 3rd, above the defending champions. Arsenal would have absolutely loved what they saw today. Liverpool, meanwhile, with a victory at Sheffield United, they remain in 2nd. Craig, we've seen a lot of Manchester City over the years. Like, even in games in which they've lost Champions League, I don't think we've ever seen them dominated as much as they were.
It was ragged.
It was incredible.
Every time we looked up, we'd quite a few games on, particularly the United, Chelsea, and the Villa City. Every time we turned, sort of shifted your eye to Villa Park, they were on the attack, and they were in the box, and they were piling bodies forward and creating chances and making Ederson make save after save after save. And yeah, I mean, he's got some players out. I'll give you that.
Yeah, Rodri was, of course, suspended
right
for this.
So he plays, Akanji and Stones, which is Calvin Phillips. See ya. You know what I mean? That's what do you say when you're an England international midfielder, and that's what he's doing. But clearly, that's where he is in his team selection. But the back line once again, and yeah, they need protection from the midfield and from the front line. But where do you start? Because they gave up so many chances and they created so little. Now, the giving up the chances is something we've all talked about recently with this City team in the last, I'm going to say, 3 or 4 weeks. However, the lack of guile at the other end is a big concern after tonight's game. I mean, they will always create chances and they'll come back, but there's more than a chink of light for all these other teams that are up there. That we've always sat here and said City will 12 games, will go 10, 12, 14 games. Does it look like that at the moment? And picking up 36 points out of 36, whatever it is, I don't think so.
There were times, Steve, where they couldn't even get out of their own half. And when we say that about City, we saw mistakes as we did in that Chelsea game as well, where the passing that's so slick wasn't there.
Do you know, listen, Guardiola has been kind of the master of dropping people into positions they're not used to, and somehow it hasn't affected them. But, it seems like that's catching up. You've got, when you put that team up before and you look at it, the 3 things that stick out big time are 3 centre-backs who are playing out of position.
Right.
You're going to try and win the Premier League with 3 centre-backs playing out of position, and you're expecting a level of performance that we're used to seeing. I mean, look at that. In all honesty, 3 centre-backs. Guardiola, I guess, of the 3 is the one that's in a sort of similar position to where he normally is. But if you're expecting Akanji and Stones to start in a top Premier League game and produce what people like Rodri and De Bruyne do, then I think we're asking for too much. And I think it's just caught up with them. You can't get away with it time after time after time. And today, they got
even
found
Kovacic,
out.
sorry, I forgot, I was talking about Calvin Phillips. Kovacic is
He came on in the second half, didn't he?
He did come on, but he's a well-worn midfielder. He's been there, seen it, done it at every level. And, they've got 2 centre-backs in there. I think we're talking about Pochettino getting team selection wrong. You'd have to say, because this guy's had so much praise over the last few years, the City manager. That looks to me as if he's got his team selection completely wrong, and Aston Villa got theirs absolutely spot on.
The thing that jumps out at me is, while, yes, you're playing Guardiola on the left-hand side of that defensive 3, you've got Foden and Alvarez playing wide left in attacking positions, and they're not going to come back. So you're relying on Akanji, who's on the left-hand side of Stones, those 2 to deal with everything that Villa had coming at them. And as Steve mentioned in the highlight, Leon Bailey was just having his way with Guardiola. And because there simply was no cover, it was one-on-one all day long, and Leon Bailey was just thriving up against Guardiola with that kind of space and absolutely no cover. And then that's, okay, albeit through a deflection, but that's where the goal comes from. As he gets around Guardiola, City are all at sea. Diaz trying to come across it to make up the space, and so for me, while yes, you're trying to tinker with how you shape up defensively, You can't just have two attacking wingers on one side in that way and hope to get anything out against a team like Villa.
Yeah, well, that's the point. It's Villa. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You look at what they did in the summer. It wasn't eye-catching. You know what I mean? The transfer policy. It's a lot of the same players. They lost Tyrone Mings at Newcastle in match day 1 when they got hammered.
Yep.
Didn't play badly certainly for an hour, but got hammered in the end. Pau Torres had come in, experienced player, international guy, he's fitted in there. He was looked a bit iffy to start with, getting to know his teammates. You got Konza, who they can play. Diego Carlos is back, and Konza played right back. That was a big call. No Matty Cash. Leon Bailey back in. As Stevie said, gave Guardiola a bit of a doing all night. And Ollie Watkins. These guys were all there.
Yeah.
You know, they too have injuries. Bundia and others. The job that man has done, bearing in mind the situation they were in when Steven Gerrard left the club. Yeah. They bring in a guy who's been tried and trusted, and he's had a few wobbles and hit a few hurdles that he's fell on over the years, but he's a proper coach. And he's come in, they haven't spent fortunes, he's coached them, they play a high line, like a lot of the teams these days. They squeeze the game, they're powerful, they pass the ball. They're not I wouldn't say they're the slickest team to watch in the Premier League, but they're a little bit of everything. Play football, work hard, good shape, defensively solid, great goalkeeper at the back as well. I don't think they're in the title race at the moment. I don't think they're going to win the league. But this is just a great story for Villa.
To use Craig's words, proper coach.
Yeah, I think when you look at the players they have today, the same players 6 months ago could not have done this. They wouldn't have had the belief. They certainly wouldn't have been brave enough to do it. I mean, you said it when we were watching the game. You've never seen a team going at Manchester City in years. I mean, we haven't. The last time I remember a game or a team trying to do that against City in an open game was Liverpool in the Pomp at Man City. There's not been a side that's went, we're going to go toe-to-toe with this team and we're going to get after them. And they absolutely did it. So, you know, that takes organisation. It takes belief. It takes courage, even though you're at home. So, yeah. And all of that has come since Unai Emery's walked through the door.
Makes them very easy to root for, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Everything about Aston Villa, every single thing, from the personnel to a coach who's has been respected for all that he's done. Yes, he's to use Craig's phrase, he's had a couple of wobbles, but he's always carried himself in a way that I think people admire. And now you do that with this team, this Villa team, where we know how poor they once were, not so long ago, and how he's turned them around. Absolutely. Everything about Villa you have to admire.